Awesome. There we go. What's up, everyone? This is Justin,
And it's Dr. Lynn.
and we are working it out across generations where we talk about everyday conflict and how those everyday conflicts inform how we coexist, on a
Yeah.
daily basis with each other, right? I think today we've got a really, really cool topic. Definitely something that generationally speaking, we both can speak to in the sense of, where people were when it comes to this topic, where people are now when it comes to this
hmm
topic. Today we're going to be addressing whether or not it's ever okay to get revenge.
Oh boy.
I definitely have a lot to say about this, but definitely gonna toss it over to Dr. Lynn to tell us why we're talking
Uh,
about that today.
yeah, it's interesting because what I had to do for this topic is to look up the difference between revenge and retaliation because I think what brought it to mind was the incident in Congress between
Yep.
Congresswoman MTG, and I think that's it, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And I had heard Congresswoman Crockett talk on a show, and she talked about the fact that that MTG was a bully in meetings a lot of the times, and that she felt like she could no longer let her get away with it, and so she had to go back at her the same way that she came at her, right? And so that made me think, wow, is that revenge or is that retaliation? And that's retaliation because when you look it up, it says to go after, like, to return like for like. Right. So you come at me this way, I come at you in that same way. Right. Or I think they call it clapback now. There's always a different term for it. But revenge is to really seek to get back at someone, usually in the name of someone else, but it can be in the name of yourself. But it is in a harmful way, right? That you're really trying to do harm to them. Now, it doesn't have to just be physical harm. It could be verbal, emotional, mental harm. We've seen it done, but I. I think it's an interesting topic because I think we see it all over the place now. Before, I think I'm into martial arts movies. I don't watch them as much because unfortunately there's too much gore in the world itself. So
Makes sense.
but good stuff because I'm always looking for the techniques. Like that's what I'm looking for. But in martial arts movies, it was famous for "you killed my brother," so I'm gonna get revenge. That was a classic theme, and you saw a lot of it in movies. You see a lot of it in movies now, but we also see it in real life. And let's face it, how many of us who've been hurt by someone, right, or even a system, how many of us have not thought of getting revenge, right? Even if we know we would never do it, but some of us are actually doing it. And even in thinking about it, some of us are plotting it and don't know whether or not we really intend to get our revenge, or we're holding this grudge and with this desire, this secret desire and intention to get revenge one day, right? And I just thought, yeah, this is an interesting topic. I bet there are folks out here watching who have had that thought themselves. Yeah.
For sure, absolutely. I think, you know, you said it from something that goes on in movies and in television and entertainment, right? It's now seeped into, honestly, part of our everyday life. Of
Mm-hmm.
if you disrespect me in this way, you
Mm-hmm.
disrespect my family in this way, whatever it is, physical, sometimes verbal. That's more than enough to set a lot of people off and to set people off in very drastic ways.
Yeah.
And so I think as we start moving into generationally speaking, why this topic comes up as important to me is, to be honest, we're losing a lot of young people out here uh, who are trying to get revenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of disrespect that they had experienced, right? And I think that I appreciate even just the way that you had laid out kind of how it goes of like, you did this to someone that I care about, right? Like, I think one of the things that maybe my generation doesn't think about too much, but I hope that we even do just a little bit is
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people in that position, right? They don't want the ones that they love to go and do something that's gonna hurt them at the end of the day, right? So a lot of times, like, I would hope that people just, are like, hey, like, yeah, this might have happened. Yeah, this might have been, tough, right? And of course, I want to do something, right? But I don't want this done, not in this way or by you, right? And so I think that even just honoring that, right? I think that people are saying that, but young people have a tough time resonating with, the whole turning of the other cheek, the whole kind of letting things happen, letting things be out of their control, right? And things of that nature. And so, I don't know if that message is still as loud as it once was. I feel like I've definitely heard that in, similar, even just entertainment from your generation, right? Of like, oh, this happened, but I don't want you to go out and do this and hurt your future and hurt yourself, right? I hope that message is still being relayed to our young people. But I just know that we are losing a lot of us due to somehow wanting to get revenge for something in which, that thing might have not had anything to do with them, even personally, right? And so, I think it's important because I don't want anyone losing their lives, of course, but when we really think about just circumstances that people live in and things that they have to go through and situations that they have to get themselves out of, right? I just don't want to make it worse, or I don't want people to make it worse for themselves, harder for themselves when it comes to things of this nature, right? Which is really just an energy buildup that needs to get expressed in some way, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't like the losing of people who haven't even made it to 21 yet, behind something like getting revenge for something that had nothing to do with them.
Right.
So it's very multi-layered, but I just, I want to see more of our young people making it to, longer, better ages, better lives, like all that stuff. So
I mean, there's a lot of injustice out there and a lot of cruelty. And so I understand when people think that the best thing to do is to get revenge. Or I have to say, too, even in my time, and I want to talk a little bit about my growing up, but even in my time, there were sort of like maybe rules of the street that you get revenge, right? Somebody does something to you, does something to yours, takes out one of yours, whatever kind of thing it is. You have to. Like, it's not even a choice. You have to get revenge. Like, you are not going to be respected without getting it. And that is, it's difficult. I think that's a difficult message to push back against, especially, again, because there is so much injustice and pain being inflicted on people in the world. But also, we were talking about, there was a story, maybe it was last week or something like that, of a father who went and beat up another father, right? Because the daughter had bullied his daughter, right? And he brought his brothers, right? And beat up the father, the dad of the bully. Right, or the alleged bully. Not getting us in trouble neither. Right. The alleged bully. Right. And that's revenge. That's revenge. And we're not talking about right or wrong in it, right? We're not saying whether or not she was bullied or it was wrong to do it or right to do. We're just saying that that's an example of revenge, and that I think that we are seeing it more and probably will be seeing it more. And what we're saying is, well, we're talking about it today is because I think that it's rare that people are not or have not thought about it. Right. Now, you mentioned, right, turn the other cheeks. And when I was growing up, that was a huge phrase, right? And we had the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The dumbest saying I ever heard. And but we used to sing it, and never meant it. But I never meant it. And even in my day, there was lots of breakings of bones over some words, right? That hurt us. But those were the things that we grew up with. I'm sorry. As I think about it, it's just so ridiculous That was actually a very popular saying when I was growing up. And then I grew up with a mother who could lay you out with words without one single cuss word, and you felt like you were cussed badly. She was extremely intelligent, loved words, so knew them, and would stand her little short ground because she and I both short, right? And would tell you off in a minute, especially. So you want to talk about revenge, right? But this was real more retaliation, but especially if it was about her kids, right? You not, no, that's not going to happen. And I grew up seeing that, but that was the same person who told me to turn the other cheek. But it was really about revenge. In the moment, I don't think I ever saw her silent when it called for to go like for like. I don't think I ever saw my mother hold her tongue. But in terms of really sitting down and plotting to get back at someone, I will say the closest it came was my parents and really the Black community that I grew up within. Our revenge on racism was to get the best education we could get in those rooms, and to get a good job and make them mad that we were there, that we were present, and that we were doing well as Black people. That's probably the closest plotting of revenge that we ever had. And it was revenge on a system that was really keeping us out, so I don't think that I ever saw anyone get revenge. I did see a lot of retaliation though, but I do think that it's real today in larger and larger numbers. And that's why I think it's important to really have a conversation about it today, because it's in people's minds and thoughts and hearts, because that's the other piece, right? It's in your heart, which makes me think of that saying that I know it's about holding a grudge, but I'm gonna use it in terms of revenge. That getting revenge on someone is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. Like, yes, you might do something to them that's bad or mean, but the real suffering is within you, because this is energy you're holding. This is you in your thoughts, in your heart, in your body. You're actually can't stop thinking about it until that day comes, if it ever comes, which means that it's going to do you more harm than it is even the individual, even if you end up enacting it. Because then the other thing is, what did you do to get revenge? Where will that land you? Right? Will there be consequences that really weren't worth that if you were able to do something different?
Yeah, and I think a lot of those consequences just have to do with livelihood. And if it's extreme, then it's your entire life. So when it comes down to honor, when it comes down to respect and all of these things, dignity, right? We are never going to say don't get struck in those areas when certain things are said or done, right? In spite of, right, or in disrespect of, right, but again, weighing out the pros and cons, the options, the different pathways that you can go down to handling these things is, I think, important for the conversation, especially for young people, so that they just know, like, the only ways you're thinking about it aren't the only ways that you have to go about it, right? That might be the only thing you have access to in that moment in time, but then again, there's always more options, more chances, more choices, and let's get into some of the reasons that people even want to get revenge, right? There are things that'll trigger people enough to get them to that point where they will, as you said, in a way, like, hurt themselves more than they hurt other people, right? And I think one of the first areas is a bully, right? A bully that's in school, a bully in work, a bully in an authoritative figure. I know for me, that was like the main straw, right? I've had so many educators and people in my life who, I felt like definitely used some of that authoritative power that they had to not necessarily uplift everyone in the room, not really offer themselves the way that they should to everyone in the room. And I think that, I could say for me, like those are adults that I definitely, as a young person, wanted to go at, to challenge, to be more in the room, all of these different things. But even with kids, right? Like, of course, with kids, and you're young, right, and you have less, hopefully, chances of a consequence, right? Like, kids are out here fighting, kids are out here getting it on, kids are, you know what I mean? And of course, with social media and all this other stuff, right, it can continue. So it's not even like it ends for the day. It's not even like, people get a break from each other, right? If anything, there's almost more access to each other when you leave each other's presence, right? So when we talk about, bullies and people who put that energy out to put you down, to hold you back, anything like that, and in a negative light, I think that's definitely one main reason that people want to get revenge, avenge, retaliate, anything of that nature. And I completely get that. I just have to own that.
I own it too. Shoot, that's the one thing.
Yeah,
Worked
I
in
own
schools
that.
for
Yeah.
20 plus years, doing conflict resolution work, and I saw lots of bullies. And don't get me wrong, I understand that there are reasons behind bullying, but I don't. I care, but I don't care. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because I understand the kinds of emotions that come up. As a parent, I understand the kinds of emotions that come up. And so imagine if you are the one that's being bullied. I get it. I understand why you would want to get revenge. And unfortunately, I have seen quite a bit of revenge on bullies. But the other thing is that I've seen way too much bullying that doesn't get attended to. And I think that that's one of the reasons why there's more people who are wanting to get revenge or enacting revenge, because we're not, I'm straight to the camera, we are not doing a good job on bullying. We are not doing a good job at preventing it, and we are certainly not doing a good job of protecting people and helping those people who are bullying to stop it. And that's real for me. So
yeah, I agree, and I would second that by also saying the adults need to do better.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I definitely think kids need to ease up on each other.
Yeah, but the adults are in charge.
Exactly. You're the ones overseeing it. You're the ones in which
and raising some of these bullies.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I am 1,000% for adults.
That's what I'm talking about.
Handle your stuff because we, as young people, like, we're sponges. We absorb everything that we look at, see, and all that stuff. Especially if we respect you. Especially if all of those things, right? We will walk and try to be like you. So clearly, there's a lot there, but adults need to get a grip. We're losing kids. So next, finances. I think this is huge off of not just like robbing someone and like taking their wallet, taking whatever's in it, right? I was going more along the lines of honestly doing business with each other. People who've gone into business ventures with each other, money will definitely start to become something in which the dynamic gets challenged. And so with that, I think that, when you start going into the logistics and the way people think, right, of, if I'm doing more, then I deserve more, and yada, 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 right, all of these things, I think that this is a big thing that comes down to just how people eat, right? Like, at the end of the day, I think one of the main things that people will try to go for outside of like your health is your finances. When it comes to like really trying to break you down, get you into some sort of, mental spiral and all of these other things, is how you eat at the end of the day, right? And I know that for parents, for adults, right, who have young people in their lives that they're supporting, right, that's like the main priority, is making sure everyone's fed, everyone has clothes on their back, all of those things. And I know for a fact in personal situations, but also in so many others, that, when people start to have that messed with, and that's intentional, and someone's, again, plotting on doing so, right, that really will send people into, a whirlwind of emotions, and rightfully so, right? And again, it's all about, when these things come up, what can we do with it? But I think finances is a very, very huge thing. Again, if people are not attacking your physical health and well-being and things of that nature with words or actions, then I think in some way, shape, or form, business is a top 3 thing on that list that people are going to think to attack you on. So definitely start to be weary of that, and be wary of what comes up for you when you start thinking about finances and involving other people in that and what that could look like. Because money comes and goes, right? So when it goes, we want to make sure we're still able to love on each other and care about each other too, and not feel like we're against each other. So that's where I went.
Oh, well, where I went is when you loan people money and they don't pay it back. Then people definitely want to get revenge. I have seen that over and over again. And that's as old school as it is new school. You lending someone money, then saying they're gonna pay it back. They don't show up to work. I'll pay you on payday. Don't show up to work, whatever the deal is. Or if it's not about they work with you, maybe it's a friend or even a family member, and it continues to happen. Yep, you continue to trust and loan money, or maybe you're the kind of person that loans money and it's happened to you with different people. So maybe on the third one, you're ready to go and get some revenge because people seem to always do this same thing to you. Whatever that is, I have seen that. I've seen people take revenge on other people because they owe them money and they're getting tired of them not paying it back.
That's real. How far you go with that, I mean, that's up to you, but I mean, that is very, very real. So I just hope no one's losing lives over $20. But then again, we don't.
Sometimes more than 20.
People are people, so we get that. We definitely get that.
Yes.
Lastly, just simply, you've been done wrong, right? We've already kind of addressed some of this, but someone's done something to your family, said something about your family, anything of that nature. For sure, that will grant the emotions and things of that nature, telling you to get revenge and retaliate, and in some way, shape, or form, just get back, right? And however it is, and in some way worse. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but if you have more on why we put that on the list, then.
Well, there's plenty of people. Everybody's been done wrong. I'm sorry. If you haven't been done wrong, then you haven't been living long enough, because everybody's been done wrong at some point, but some more than others. And I think that that's where it can turn into revenge, where if you feel like this is always my life, right? Or people are always treating me like this and I can't take it anymore. It's just not fair. That absolutely will send someone to thinking, how do I get this person back or these people back? And I think it's probably the number one. Bullies is probably, and yes, being done wrong it can be put under that same category, but being done wrong isn't always about bullying. Just some people just absolutely cheat you out of something that you expected to have, or they said that they were going to give you, whether it could be a job. I've certainly seen that happen to people who expected that they were going to get a job or even keep a job. Unfortunately, the phrase, I think this was before you were even born, or maybe you were a baby, going postal became very popular because there were postal workers for some reason at a certain point in time in my lifetime that were going back into their jobs. They were fired, let go, whatever, done wrong on the job, and were shooting up the place. Wow. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, there was that phrase, going postal. People were using it everywhere in their own thoughts, their own minds of what kind of revenge they were going to exact. So being done wrong can absolutely, it could be in relationships and custody cases of being done wrong, right? There's a lot that happens to people in their lives. And unfortunately, as I said, we're all going to experience it at some time. And if you are being done wrong over and over again, then I understand why those thoughts can come.
Absolutely.
But what we're going to move to, though, is to talk about 3 ways to channel the energy instead of getting revenge. Yeah. Because we want you to do something different. We've already said we understand. I mean, how many of you have wanted to get revenge? Even those of you who can't comment, raise your hand out there. We know you're watching on TV. Raise your hand for yourself. You know, admit it. You've wanted to do it, right? So we want you, though, to be able to channel the energy that you have, that you're putting toward even thinking about it, into something else. One of the biggest things is find a physical outlet, not the physical outlet of beating somebody's behind. That's not the physical outlet. Don't try to get around this by doing that. We're talking about something like whether it's exercise, whether it's a sport, even going for walks can be physical outlets, right? If you're wanting to hurt somebody, take up boxing and take it out on the bag, right? Or make it something that is going to enrich you and your life and your skill, and take that energy out of you when you need it to be out of you, rather than to really keep that energy for whatever you might be plotting.
Yeah. I would just say make sure it's challenging. Like, make sure you're actually challenging yourself, right? Whatever it is. Even if you're just shooting hoops, right? If you have a left hand that's not that great, do stuff with your left hand, right? All those kinds of drills with your left hand, right? You have a punch that you're not too strong on, right? That you're working on, or a combo that you're not too strong on, take that out on the bag, right? So all these things, I would say on top of that, make sure you're, actually challenging yourself, because that release that you'll feel after is really what we're aiming for. The release of that energy in a healthy, productive way. Yeah. That doesn't, involve, honestly, potential fatal consequences.
Right. And you made me think when we were watching the documentary Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and I remember him saying, people would get at him and they would say these things, or they might push him on the court or whatever. And all he said, he would think to himself, I'm going to get my revenge on the court. And it was to a point in one of the episodes where somebody on another team did something, made him mad, and his teammates were so mad at him because they knew Mike is coming for us now. He's going to get his, and he did it beautifully every single time. And that satisfied him. Like, I'm going to get mine. Just wait and see. So yeah, something that challenges you physically can really do the trick.
Yeah, I agree.
Investing in yourself. Yeah. So there's many ways to invest in yourself, but one of the things I think is really making sure that you're gaining emotional intelligence, because the thing that's going to drive you to revenge or to actually go through with it is your emotions. Even though you might think that it's your thoughts, and yes, they play a major role, but your emotions are, and we downplay emotions so much. And the force of emotions, the energy that's in emotions, and it's physiological, it's biological. There are things that you cannot prevent emotions from coming up in you. You may prevent yourself from showing them or expressing them, but them coming up, no, you can't prevent that. That is going to happen. And if you can invest in ways to be able to manage your emotions, and I don't mean suppress them, I don't mean not ever show them, I actually do mean showing, expressing, and managing. When you need them to be strong, then you make sure they're strong because you've made sure they are, not because they've decided that they're going to take you on this ride that you are not going to control. Managing your emotions means that when you need to be soft, you're soft. When you need to be harder, you are. When you need to be louder, stronger, all of those things are up to you as you recognize and feel and sit in and express your emotions. So that's one of the things, right? Investing in emotional intelligence, but also investing in higher ways, higher thinking, right? Look at shows or listen to podcasts where people are really talking about how you get through and get past. People have had some horrible things happen to them, and they've actually channeled their energy into some really positive things. So, how do you do that? Because that's not automatic. Let's be real. So, how do you do that? You invest in yourself with people, ways, courses that show you how to do things like that. The breath, learning how to take control of your breath, which actually helps to manage your physiology. That's something that you can invest in so that you are the one calling the shots for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, this is important and, needs to be amplified as a message. Just that it also takes time, right? Like, I think a lot of people look at, investing in themselves in certain ways as kind of like, if I don't see the results, then why would I do that? When it's like, I think there's a lot of beauty in waiting for the results and working even harder for them, right? And so, there's a lot of value in value stacking, and I think this is exactly what
Can you explain that?
So value stacking, right? Just like doing so physical health, right? Improving your physical being, whether that's going on runs, if you're an athlete, playing whatever sport that is, right? Or that you like. I know for me, I love boxing. So I'm boxing right now. That's definitely something that's really helping my physical, right? And then tapping into, your emotional, right? Your EQ, improving that, tuning into more higher vibrations in people or in the things that you do, that make you feel good, and the things that you do that don't make you feel great, right? And all in between, and having an understanding of that. The list goes on, right? Getting finances in order, getting relationships in order, like all of those things. The list goes on, and I think that because honestly, we still kind of live in this, and I think social media is not helping, but we still kind of live in this like, well, this person's doing it, or this person got it done before me, or whatever it is, however they're showing it off. And I think that we don't see everything that goes on backstage. I mean, that's just the reality, but that's what I'm saying. Like, everything that's going on backstage that you don't see is, I think, where a lot of the gold is, right? It's not necessarily where the end point is, but I think a lot of the gold is in there, because you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have days where you approach the day or approach the conflict, a little stronger, a little more equipped than others, right? And yet, even in the mistakes, right, being able to come back to yourself, look in the mirror and say, okay, I don't really like how I handled it that way. The next time that I get presented with an opportunity, I'm going to handle it this way. Right. And again, you may not get that opportunity for another month or two, right? But it's knowing that that opportunity is coming, because you're aligning yourself and orienting yourself to the world in a different way. And I think that there's patience that needs to be instilled there, right? There's the amplification of the message that patience is something we need to get better at. Needs to be out there, right? But I think that I really think, in my personal life, in my personal experience, when I let go of control of a lot of things and I let things be, and I gave myself time to really like invest energy into whatever it was that I wanted to improve at that time, and then let how it be, and whatever stuff just be. I felt a lot more empowered over just my life, my choices, my reactions to things. The people that I'm around, and when I'm around those people, right? That's especially important, around your friends and all of those. We all have friends. We all have people that we hang out with for different reasons, right? So understanding those different reasons and really taking the time with yourself to say, oh, this is really why I hang out with you, or oh, this is really why I spend so much on this, or oh, this is really why this type of dynamic in my relationships doesn't really work for me, right? Whatever it is, right? And so as a exchange, right? So again, that all takes time. Like, each of those things takes literal time and patience, and that's what I mean by value stacking. And I think that
Okay. That makes sense.
I think that we definitely just need more amplification of the patience that comes with that. I am so with results. I get so tight sometimes myself of just like, bro, like I'm doing it. So like, let me see something, right? And yet the reality is like it all adds up. Small is all. It does amount to something. So the more you do something, the more you feed something, the more that thing is just going to grow. And so grow yourself in higher vibrations.
Right, in higher vibrations. This one is gold. Let me say this because thank you for everything you added to that, because it really is. There are so many ways to invest in yourself. Just the very fact that you are doing something other than plotting your revenge, because that takes a lot of energy, a lot of head space, a lot of heart space.
People lose sleep.
Yeah.
Don't eat
yes.
well,
Yes.
Don't hydrate the same.
Yes.
It's an energy investment.
It is.
When you go into revenge and all these other things, which we get in certain situations. It's more of, if you don't want to go that route,
yes,
here are some other options.
And there's lots of them. And I need to say this too, because of the internet, which I did not grow up in that age. A lot of them are free, y'all. A lot of options to invest in yourself are free if you have internet. And I recognize we're global. Everybody does not have access all over the world. But I believe truly, because I love people and believe in them, that what you do have access to is someone who can feed you, who can pour into you in a positive way. Because if you got someone who can pour into you in a negative way, you got one person who can pour into you in a positive way, and that's investing in you, to learn from them, to keep those thoughts in your head, and to do something that furthers you to a higher vibration.
At the end of the day, we all attract, right? So it's feed what you want to attract.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. That was a good one. Helping and so investing in you will probably put you in contact with others, and probably put you in contact with other people who are doing worse than you, or had worse done to them than you. And that's not to belittle anything that happened to you, because as I said, we've all been wronged at some point in our lives, and some of us have been wronged way too often. We get that. But you at some point going to meet somebody who's had it rougher, and or who is suffering more than you, or just needs some help. Helping other people, taking that energy and putting it into that, can really turn things around from you wanting to just go out and avenge and get your revenge, because that energy that comes back to you from helping someone else is like no other energy. It can truly fill you and make you want to believe in yourself, to be able to do better things. And letting go is hard, no question, but filling that letting go with the feeling of investing in someone else. And when we say investing, we're not talking about money. Maybe you do have money and you invest in someone else and that makes you feel good. I don't know, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about here. We're talking about helping. So, I mean, listen, you see somebody struggling to hold their packages, right? Their bags, and just going and help, and they appreciate that. I'm sorry, that feeling is big. It just is. For a small action, you don't know what that meant to that person. To just even say something kind to someone else, right? You don't know what that means to that person. I've seen people who have shoveled the snow in front of people's driveways, just because they needed to have to put the energy that they had somewhere else for good, because otherwise they knew there were plenty of opportunities for them to put it somewhere for bad.
Yeah. I think if you're in a position to help others, I think that that's, an energy that you've attracted, right? And I think it's an energy that you've earned, right? An opportunity that you've earned. And I think for me, this is huge just because I have a mentor of mine who said, who's definitely helped change my life already. And, is continuing to be that mentor and be one of those voices for me who's, in my circle of people like that. But one of the things that he said was, I don't want you to pay me back. I don't want you to, take me out to something grand or whatever it is. I want you to simply pass on the same stuff I told you to the next person. And he said that for me, for speaking in him, right? He said that for me is better than anything that you could do in the sense of paying me back, because that's energy that's going to get returned, not only just to me, but also to you, because you're keeping that cycle going. There's plenty of people out here who are keeping negative cycles going, as we've seen with so many different things. Negative cycles and negative thinking and negative whatever is marketable, right? And that's like what we deem entertainment, and that's what we deem as, where money makers are, sadly, in a lot of things. And so the only way we break that is not only by being in a position to receive these honors and these opportunities and chances to do something different, right? It's doing it and letting the other person know, the next person know, hey, I've been in a similar situation. I've seen how people move. We have the same reactions to the same different things, and try this for the next time, right? And so I think that, right, it does come back. I think that in really taking my own stuff seriously, or even more seriously in the past couple of years, I've already seen an ROI, right? And I'm not necessarily looking for one, but I've already, received so much love and so much good energy from, my friends, and my friends addressing their stuff because I'm addressing mine, and, all these things, right? It really does keep a ball rolling. And that ball can get bigger and become more of culture the more that we allow these things to become culture, right? We have so many more options on how to handle things and how to handle ourselves and how to handle our emotions than I think a lot of us have been presented with at the start of our lives, right? And of course, life is only going to try to reinforce that you do less, but right, that you do less in hopes of having such a life of more and most, and do more, and you'll see what happens. Some really cool stuff can happen.
And people are worth it. I know that there's a lot of people, I hear a lot of people your age talk about, I don't like people, and I understand that.
I feel that.
I understand. I heard a whole room of y'all say it one time when we were doing a circle. And that hurt my heart because there are so many good people out there, but that's not who we get presented with. And social media, a lot of times, unfortunately, brings out the really bad in people in terms of just not. I don't know if the word is regulating, but maybe back to managing their emotions and managing what it is that they say to other people.
For sure that.
But helping other people. There are lots of people who really do need help, and being able to do just simple things. I mean, just even texting someone every day, maybe, when they're going through a hard time, and they responding back. I mean, there are things that you can do. So for this one, I'd say absolutely you want to extend and expend that energy. I want to say one thing that I realized, because it was not in my generation. It is a part of your generation. And when we're talking about revenge, that there's a thing that that happens, that sometimes it's in response to being done wrong in a relationship, but other times it's just in response to being broken up with, which is, I got to tell y'all, that is a natural part of being in relationships. You have to learn how to be broken up with. And the reason I'm talking about it in this topic is because I know that it has led to something called revenge porn. And that is dangerous. Revenge in general, right? But that is dangerous. So I want to say to the younger generation that it's really important that you start to get a hold on what are the things that are just a natural part of life that I got to learn to be able to feel and move through. And the beauty about relationships is that you get to experience hopefully love and what that feels like, and it hurts to come down from that. I get that. But that it just occurred to me because I've seen that and I've seen people hurt by that, and I just wanted to say that wasn't something that happened in my time. We didn't have the internet, we didn't have phones and all of that stuff where you could do that. But in any case, I think it's important for all of us, whatever it is we're thinking about what has been done to us or to others that we love, that we really pay attention to the energy that it takes to stay on that track and take that energy and put it somewhere else that's going to do us and hopefully others some real good.
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with that. But now that I do,
yeah.
Something I would add to that too is, grief. I know we just had an episode on that, but one thing that I definitely struggled with was, just very reactive after losing my pop. Right, it was like you said something wrong, I didn't like it, and it was I'm going to let you know I didn't like it, and it's don't say it again or fix it or whatever it is, and there was so much there, right? Especially with, in his case, being a person of color that's in the hospital, right? And we know that there's already discrepancies there. I mean, the list goes on, right? I think that for a while, I didn't trust that what just happened was what happened, right? That it was his time, he had passed, even though it was unexpected, right? It's just like that's where we were going, that's where it was headed. And I appreciate what you're saying just on the fact that, it's a part of life. Of course, being broken up with, that sucks. That's a part of life. Like losing the people you love most, you care about most, you're, trustworthy of the most, and all these other things. That's a part of life, right? And I think for a lot of times, it's tough for people to get out of, honestly, the fairy tale that they thought life would be, or that life once was.
Right.
I know for me, when I had both my parents, alive and well, I thought life was just like, I'm cruising and whatever. And, I lose one and I'm like, oh my God, like, let's actually start grabbing some stuff here and let's start taking some, some ownership. Right. But it's letting go of that. I think people even want to get revenge on the fact that, life isn't as sweet as they thought it was.
Right.
And that alone can cause people to do some crazy things that, even themselves know is like, that's not how I want to go about it. Right. Like, that's not how I want to go about it. That's just where my emotions took me. Right. And so I think having these conversations, opening up this conversation and to simply saying, we are going to hear things that we disagree with. We're going to feel different things in which we want to get revenge on. Right. And yet people's experiences are valid, and it's all about what can we do with that in a healthy way, to not only keep you from doing such a thing, right, and whatever, but also just to keep the door open, right? We don't want to close the door on people, right? We all leave this world unfinished products. I have to stress that so much, that we leave unfinished products, right? And my whole thing has always been, if we're going to leave unfinished, let's at least leave more in the direction of we challenged ourselves. We challenged ourselves for good, and we challenged others for good, right? As there's so many things out here already that are going to challenge us for worse. And, as we've said, it's part of the yin and yang of life. So let's just get comfortable with, even the positive that can come out of getting through such a negative. That's what I would say. So I really thought this was a great topic. I thought this was a good episode. There's definitely a lot here. I think we spoke to a lot of people, and, I know for sure, as we've been getting comments and things of that nature, people are speaking to us and we're resonating. So we are more than happy that we're resonating with people. Of course, we would be here doing this regardless and getting the messages out there. But the fact that y'all are sending us love, showing us love, tuning in, giving us shares and all of these other things, we know that it's resonating. And so, we can make this more a part of the norm. This can be part of the norm of how we coexist. And I think everyone here is a part of helping that mission actually become true.
Yes. So thank you for tuning in.
Yep.
Please continue to watch us live and comment and on E360TV.com, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. Watch us on your big screen, really. And we thank you, those of you who are watching on your big screen. Also, YouTube, you can check out the replays at Working It Out Across Generations. Subscribe. And we're on Facebook, Working It Out TV show. We thank you for your comments there and you watching us there live or checking out replays. And, it's just it's so meaningful to us that folks are tuning in and finding it important to hear what we're saying, to check out our guests, and to share your own thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So you're going to close us out?
Absolutely. Y'all know how we end this over here at Working It Out. We say conflict is here to teach you something about yourself. So go out there and find out what that is. I'm Justin.
And I'm Dr. Lynn.
This is another episode of Working It Out Across Generations. See you next week.
Yes.